Hello, and welcome everyone to this month's LinkedIn Lovin'. And today I am joined by Caroline Joinson to talk all about PR and excitingly how PR can help us get noticed on LinkedIn. So welcome, Caroline.
Hi, Judy. Thanks so much for having me today.
Fantastic to have you here. Brilliant. So I have to say I'm really looking forward to this because I have actually never really considered how PR and LinkedIn can work together. But just before we get into that lovely juicy stuff, I just wanted to sort of let people know that if you're wondering what the heck a LinkedIn Lovin' is, then these are short, bite-sized LinkedIn learnings over lunch that are designed to shine a spotlight on the world's leading social media platform, LinkedIn. Hurrah! And every month I'm joined by a guest expert to share their expertise on subjects that can support your LinkedIn activity and your results. And Caroline is no exception. She's a PR strategist and the founder of Cheerleader PR. And Caroline's mission is to help business owners gain more media coverage and PR so they can raise their profile, build relationships, and get more sales, which interestingly is very much what I say about LinkedIn, Caroline. So I think it's going to be super interesting today's LinkedIn Lovin'.
Absolutely.
So if anybody's got any questions or thoughts or comments, please do pop them into the chat box. I'd also be really interested if anybody's already doing PR and they're looking to know how they can promote it better through LinkedIn. So do let us know about that as well. But let's start, Caroline, with, I suppose, the number one question. You know, what is PR and why is it good for LinkedIn?
Yeah, I mean, this is probably my number one FAQ that people ask. Just because I think for whatever reason, PR is a bit misunderstood or people just aren't really sure what it is. But I mean, my definition is pretty simple, actually. It's about other people saying that you're good at what you do rather than you saying it yourself. So with social media, with advertising, you know, we can say what we want, you know, there's not that much. I mean, you know, it might be judged by the social media platform, but we can say we're good at what we do. But if you think about it, when you get a recommendation or a referral and it's someone else saying that you're good at what you do, that's so much more powerful. And that is essentially at the heart of PR. It's being featured on merit, so no money changes hands, being featured on other people's channels so you can reach their audience. So me speaking to you right now is a really good example of PR. You have, you know, invited me to come on and speak to your people about PR because you believe that I know about PR, which I do, which is a good job. But, you know, it's you're endorsing me as a PR expert, you know, so, and likewise, if you came and spoke to my audience as a LinkedIn expert, I'm saying Judy gets my rubber stamp, she knows her stuff. So that's what PR is. It's about other people saying that you're good at what you do and featuring you on their channels. So it is, the media is a massive part of that, media relations, getting featured by magazines, you know, broadcast, print and all of that. But media relations is only one part of PR, and PR covers, you know, podcasts, speaking opportunities, guest experts, lots of anywhere where you are getting in front of someone else's audience on merit.
That's really interesting because I automatically think of media, getting in the press, getting in magazines. And actually, I do a lot of speaking and, you know, and I go on other people's platforms, as you've just said. So I'm actually already doing PR without not actually realizing it, which is really interesting.
Yeah,
and
I think everyone is doing it a bit. They might just not realize it.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay. So in terms of, with you saying like that, I mean, for me, obviously raising your credibility, being visible, that's one of the reasons for me why I do speaking and I want to get on other people's platforms. So I guess from a LinkedIn perspective, that helps me raise visibility because I can talk about that. And it also gets me in front of that person's audience. So how would we do that with LinkedIn? How do you do that with your clients with LinkedIn? How are you using LinkedIn? Is it about finding them first, the relationships?
In terms of what? Sorry, in terms of them being featured, you mean?
Yeah. So if I wanted to get some featured on somebody's podcast or blog or whatever, you know, how would I go about it?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose there's a couple of things really. So the first thing I would say, and this is why I think LinkedIn and PR link really well together, is that both LinkedIn and PR are so much based on relationships and building relationships, you know, and connecting with people. And, you know, most of the people I've met and been featured by, particularly on, you know, podcasts, social media, that sort of thing. I've met them online, you know, and I've met them at a networking event, and, you know, we've got chatting, and, you know, we've talked about what I do and what they do. And so LinkedIn is a great place to sort of nurture those relationships. And a lot of people will say to me, oh, well, where do I start with PR? And actually I say, start with who you know, start with your existing networks. I mean, when I first went freelance, like 8 years ago now, LinkedIn was my savior, because that was where all my great relationships were and connections with people I'd worked with. And the same kind of goes for PR. It's like, who do you know who has a podcast, who has a Facebook group, who does LinkedIn Lives, where you could go and add value to their audience, and get that credibility from them featuring you. So I think it's a really good way in that way to sort of, find opportunities. And people, you know, by me coming on your show as well, you know, I've told people I'm going to be on your show. I've shared it on my LinkedIn, you know, so I'm essentially doing a bit of PR for you as well. It goes both ways. So,
do you know, I was about to say, it is both ways, isn't it, for each other? It's great for building relationships, isn't it? And I think somebody once described it to me more as joint venture or partnerships, where and somebody said, you know, the best way to get out in front of your ideal clients and your audience is to get onto somebody else's platform.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I suppose I sort of describe it as, you know, in the past you only had a couple of options. One was try and get editorial featured, or one was to pay for advertising. And now with social media, you know, we've got our own media empire. You know, we can have our own radio show, on a podcast, our own TV show, on a YouTube channel. You know, we can broadcast our own news, opinions through social media. But still within that part of someone else featuring you on merit is still the bit of PR that is why PR is still relevant, because you still need a bit of quality control, a bit of you know, those referrals, recommendations, endorsements. So it's really powerful for your growing your credibility and your brand.
I must admit, I do agree, because I always say to people, it's not about you saying you're great, it's about other people saying that you're good at what you do. And I think that is, as you say, you know, that endorsement from other people really does help, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
Yeah, so I guess that's really interesting, because one of the questions I was going to ask you, because I'm a single business owner, and for me, there's only so much marketing you can do. And, you know, for me, my main sort of routes to market obviously are LinkedIn, but speaking and networking, mainly because that gets me out from behind the laptop, you know, instead of just being here all day. So, but, you know, PR to me feels like it's a little bit mind boggling, that it's going to be hard work. Where do you start? You know, when you're talking to people, you know, where do they actually see PR fitting in their marketing mix, if you like? And do you have to go in and persuade them that there is a case for PR for business owners like me, for example?
Yeah, I suppose there is. Firstly, there's that thing of people already doing some PR for themselves, they don't realise it. I mean, the other thing is that PR, I always start with PR looking at, well, who is it you actually want to reach in terms of your audience? You know, who is it you actually want to work with and reach and be in business with? Who do you need to influence? But also, what do you want to achieve in your business? So if you said to me, well, actually, you know, I want to build this, you know, Yorkshire-wide brand, you know, I want to, you know, go and get meetings in, you know, big corporate companies in Yorkshire, for example. This is just an example. Well, then, you know, if you were then featured in the Yorkshire Post talking about what you did, or, you know, sharing some news, that's really going to help you to open the right doors. And I think the thing with PR is you have to start at that point. Like, it's like, well, what works for you? What's going to help move the needle on your business? So for you, Judy, it depends what it is you're trying to achieve in your business. But for so many people, you know, like, say, you know, it's a product-based business, you know, if they got their product listed in 𝗙𝗿liche magazine, you know, with top 50 items to buy, that's going to make a massive difference, you know.
Yes, it is.
Or equally, you know, there's magazines that are aimed at female entrepreneurs. You know, if you were featured in there, if that was your target audience, that would really help you to, you know, to get in front of the right people. So it's very much a strategic discipline. It's not just like, oh, let's do a bit of PR for PR's sake. It is like, well, is it the right thing for you? And I would say for most businesses, you know, and I know I would say this, you know, approaching your marketing from that thing of, actually, what am I trying to achieve here? Which are the best channels to use? And relationships and reputation, which PR helps with, are crucial. So get it in the mix. But what is it I need to do? And if you approach it in that way and plan it, then PR, although it can seem overwhelming, it's just part of what you're doing, on a regular basis to put yourself out there, really.
Yeah, that is really interesting, actually. I love how you've positioned that, because I think it takes, for me, PR has never really been something that I think I did. And I think just looking at it from that perspective takes that big, overwhelming, it's too difficult to do out of it. And stuff, which is really, really interesting.
Yeah.
So that,
but
I
think you are better. You already are doing your PR better than you realise, Judy, because, people know you, they know your brand. In fact, I was in an office yesterday, and when I spoke to you and I said, "Oh, hi, Judy," and so I said, "Is that the LinkedIn lady?" Like, honestly. But, in again, probably in like the Yorkshire business community, your network, you get out there, you put on events like this, which is you doing PR for yourself. You are making things happen. So I think you are doing a lot more than you realise, and probably a lot of people are. And then it's just whether you want to go to another level and try and get, some media coverage or do some more collaborations, So it's weighing up what's right for you, but you are doing a lot more than you realise.
Yeah, that is really interesting. That's great. Hey.
Yay.
And so actually I can talk about how then would you use PR. So this is a perfect example, because it's how do you use PR with LinkedIn? So if this is a platform that I run, the LinkedIn LoveIns, and I get guest experts. And as you say, Caroline, it's all about building relationships with people, but also helping me get out further into the people's network that come on and present and be a guest for me. So obviously I'm doing this as a LinkedIn Live. This is going out on my company page as a LinkedIn Live, though not on my personal newsfeed, which is something I might have to think about. But then afterwards, so obviously it's on YouTube. It goes out as an email to my email newsletter, and I also then put it on LinkedIn as an article. So it's about repurposing that content as well from a PR perspective. And I think for me, because of what I thought PR was in terms of having media coverage, for me was like, it feels like, how do you use that media coverage? And B, how do you know it's worked? And unless somebody gets in touch with you and says, I saw you in XYZ magazine, you don't really know, do you, if it's worked or not?
No, and I think, I suppose I do get that question, that sort of argument a bit of like, how do you say it's directly correlated to sales? And I think, there are ways of, I suppose, tracking articles and tracking, and putting some ad spend behind things and things like that. But actually, I think PR, if you're thinking about kind of like a sales funnel, it's at the top, it's for awareness, and awareness is quite hard to measure. And that's not kind of like not trying to do it as a cop out, but it's more like, it's just making people aware of you in the first place, so that it's their first sort of, experience of you. They've seen you somewhere, or like in your case, they've seen you in multiple places, and they're, it starts to just get you into their world. And I mean, the thing with PR is it's based predominantly, for service-based businesses anyway, on kind of, your expertise, but also your story. Because although there will be other people out there who teach LinkedIn, but no one else has got the same experience as you, the same kind of, how you got to where you are now. You've got a unique story about how you ended up doing what you do now. And PR very much is all about stories as well, and expertise. So it allows you to share more of what makes you you, and then people can connect with you more as like, oh yeah, I know about Judy. I'd like to, if I need LinkedIn, I'll go to her, kind of thing. It's that know, like, and trust factor, because you're able to just share a bit more than just purely, this is what I do. It's like the story around it, the story behind it. And I guess that's the thing with the media side, that the media trade in stories. So again, it's another way to bring sort of storytelling into your business, and just, and you're right, like you're talking about sort of content repurposing there. I mean, PR and content just go hand in hand, because you might come up with an idea that you think could work really well for, your social media and your content, or likewise, you might do something that gets you some, PR coverage or gets you featured, and you can use that for content. So you're already repurposing it, but there's, it's a win-win, really.
It is indeed. And I love that. And I think that's been it really does mirror LinkedIn, because it is all about building credibility. That's what I was saying. It's about you being active on LinkedIn and posting and engaging and staying top of mind, and so people, when they are ready to find you and buy from you, will come to you. And so I can see the similarities there between what you do on LinkedIn and what you do on PR is very similar. It's just two different vehicles of doing it, but they do work. I can see that they do work well together. And I think there's from a LinkedIn perspective, there's two aspects, isn't there, to PR? One is a place to actually promote where you've been, PR wise. So what platforms you've been on, what media you've been in. And I can talk about where people can put that, for me, in the featured section. If you've been in the Yorkshire Post, you've got an article in the Yorkshire Post, or you've got a feature somewhere else, or you've been on a podcast. For me, on the featured section of your LinkedIn profile, they should be going in there because it's visible. And then there's a publication section further down on the bottom of your profile. But, I do see people posting. One of the things I would do is post, oh, look at me, I've been featured in this magazine,
Absolutely.
or I'm talking on this platform. So that's hugely important.
Yeah,
I think in raising visibility. But the other side to it then is getting those opportunities. So it's finding journalists, isn't it? And, people coming to you saying, will you be on my platform, which is all the relationship building side of it.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for people about, how they would go about do they need to research? I guess they have to understand their audience, don't they?
Yeah.
Any tips there?
Yeah, definitely. So, absolutely. The first step really is to work out, understand your audience, who they are, where they hang out, what media they consume, what social media they consume. And, that is quite an open-ended task. So it is kind of, trying to narrow that down as much as possible and thinking about, well, where if I, as I say, was featured in the Yorkshire Post, for example, would that kind of resonate with the people I want to reach, and actually, so like in your instance, it would, because, that's the key, well-known media in Yorkshire, in the region kind of thing. And so what I advise people to do is to get to know those key titles, so get hold of a copy, see when they have their business section, get hold of the business section, see what sort of features they have in there, what sort of, like every week they'll have an opinion piece that a business owner will write. They'll have, different features that go in, and it's like, there's things like news, if you say, you'd won an award, or you're taken on staff, there's the news side of it, but then there's a feature side, which is more sort of the longer, broader features that are on a regular basis. It's a space that needs to be filled, like the Yorkshire Post did like a day in the life of, and they need someone to do that every week. So it's just kind of having a look at what opportunities there are, so that then you could say, oh, I'd love to feature in this, and put together an email just to sort of outline, why it should be you, what you could cover in that. So definitely it's understanding your audience and understanding those key media, and then doing that research to see, well, where would I fit? And then you make the journalist job a lot easier to get a yes, afterwards.
And I guess on LinkedIn as well is look for the journalists that and because I know Twitter is very good, isn't it, for journalism and journo requests, but there are journo requests on LinkedIn as well. That I will put a hashtag. There is a hashtag that you can use to find journalism requests and stuff. But actually, I guess if we talk about the Yorkshire Post, it's finding out who are the editors. Is it the editors? I don't know, but whoever has to do you want to have relationships with those people, don't you, to get in there?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're right. Twitter is like the journalist's favourite platform in a lot of cases, because they can just put out a quick request and get a quick response, and it just, and like the same as you say, they're using it on LinkedIn as well. I mean, I think, if you say, like, for example, you're looking for the business editor of the Yorkshire Post, or the deputy business editor, then absolutely they'll be on LinkedIn. In fact, I know they are. And you can start to connect with them. Again, it's never in a way of like pestering anyone, not that anyone would, but just doing it in a really like proactive, positive, how you can help them kind of way. And I think they do appreciate that. And also, if you're asking to be featured ultimately down the line, well, as I say, if you've done your research, where you'd fit, it looks like you care about being seen there. And then when you get some coverage and you tell everyone you've got it, they're like, and you thank them for featuring you, well, they love that as well, because it's natural, isn't it, to want that, to have that interaction. So The only thing I would say is just that in terms of sharing media coverage, you can't share screenshots of coverage because they are protected by copyright, but you can share links. And the great thing with LinkedIn is because when you paste a link in, it'll pull through, you know, the banner image and where it was seen. So that's the only platform that does that as far as I'm aware. So I think it looks really good because you'll see the article, you know, great, I've been featured. But so you can talk about being featured, you can thank them for featuring you, you could maybe, you know, you can say as featured in, and you can share that link, but just don't take it, you know, a nice screenshot of the paper and share it, because that is, you know, that's not advised. There is a body that looks after that.
That's really interesting, isn't it? Because I have seen people do screenshots of, but you can't read them very well anyway.
No.
And so I would maybe want to do a screenshot of the headline and maybe the photo, if there is one, and maybe put it into Canva or something. But what you're saying is I couldn't even do that. Could you take a screenshot of the headline or your face? I suppose if it's
a bit of a grey area.
Grey area. Oh,
yeah.
It's
so
trying to push the boundaries.
Because you're promoting that media outlet. You know, you're promoting wherever it is you've been featured, and they're actually really grateful for that. But it is like a separate body that kind of protects the copyright of the media. Yeah. But, you know, as I say, there's lots of ways, you know, you could go on and do a quick live and talk about, I've just been featured in this, I'm so chuffed, you know. You could, as I say, share the link. You could share the logo and say, I've been featured here. You could do a little summary, you know, of what you talked about. There's, you know, and tag in, as I say, the journalists and the publication. So there are, and use, as you said, in that features section and the publication sections, there are ways to do it, but just don't do a screenshot because it isn't the idea. It's not good, not advised.
Yeah, that is really interesting, actually, because I think thinking about what would I do without knowing that is actually take a screenshot, but actually summarize what's in the article. And I think that's important for people to remember. Well, you shouldn't do it, should you take a screenshot? But if you did take a screenshot, it's too small to read. So you do need to summarize and explain to people what's in that article that you've been reading and why they should read it and things like that. So, okay. So I love the idea of you being a cheerleader. I love that, cheerleader PR. And obviously, so you focus on working with people to be their own cheerleader, don't you?
Yeah.
So do you have, you know, how do people get started? Do you have any sort of tips? And if they wanted to, so this is, rather than going through to an agency, this is like me doing it myself. If I want to do my own PR.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing. So basically, I set up Cheerleader PR because, I mean, I've worked in PR for over 20 years and I've worked in agencies, which I love, and I've worked in-house as well. And when I sort of started as a freelance PR after being employed, I found that I had all these great solo business owners who were so passionate about this business they'd set up, you know, out of their passion. But they were struggling to know, well, what to say, when and where, what to say in the first place. They were overwhelmed with all the options. And if they wanted a PR person to help them, you know, the PR person would go in, probably do a project, and then, you know, send out information for them, you know, get journalists to know about them. But then when that project finished, they would go, and that business owner would not have those relationships and wouldn't have, you know, built that themselves. And I just think, as much as I can come in and be your biggest cheerleader for a period that you're, you know, employing me for or contracting me for, when I finish, who's the cheerleader then? And I want you to be your best cheerleader, because actually, particularly as a solo business owner, who else is going to do it for you? And it's it's a bit like you need to be able to big yourself up, which I know a lot of people hate the thought of that. But what I would say is, bigging yourself up, what I do, it's based on facts. It's based on, your expertise and experience is based on your story. We're not inventing anything to, you know, make something up to make you sound big or anything. We're using the truth about you and your story and your expertise to help you to, you know, promote yourself. So, yeah, I mean, that's what the cheerleader part is all about, and empowering people to be their own best cheerleader. And what I would say is that I kind of advise people to kind of get their sort of media information together. So like professional photography, and if they can afford it, and a bio, and, you know, just get everything ready so that if you see an opportunity on journo requests, or you see, you know, an opportunity, or you see something like, I want to be in that publication, or I want to be on that podcast, you can then reach out, and say, I've got this, here's my information. So I do have like a 7-step PR ready checklist, which people can download. And yeah, I know you've got the link for that, but that just takes you through that process of getting yourself PR ready. So that if you see an opportunity, you don't have the, oh God, well, I haven't got a picture and I haven't got this. You've got it all ready to go and you can just go for it. And it takes that overwhelm out of it, which I think is the problem. That's what holds people back.
That is wonderful. I'm going to see if I can just, can I put that in the comments? I think actually putting that in the comments would be really good. I think, oh, yes. So yeah, so that checklist is in there. So that's really, if anybody wants to go and grab that checklist, I think that'll be really useful, because it is, I mean, for me, I always say pictures, having a photo is one of your best marketing spends. And because you use it on your LinkedIn profile, I use mine on my business card, but then, so that's another reason why getting good photography is so important, because then it helps you be PR ready. You always need a photo. And, I'm speaking, I do a lot of actual speaking gigs, especially online, and they all want a photo and things like that. So yeah, that's really important.
I bet they all want a photo and they all want a short bio, and
yes,
it's those things that's what you need to have ready to go. You don't need like a selfie or some images where you don't know which one's which. You just want to be able to just respond to those inquiries quickly. And yeah, I mean, professional photography is worth every penny because you can use it in multiple places. I think it also adds to the confidence. If you've got a picture of yourself, you feel like, yeah, I look all right in there, and a photographer obviously can do a great job with lighting and, just making you feel comfortable and letting you show your best side. Well, when you've got that ready to go, that helps with confidence. It's not, oh God, well, if they want a picture, I haven't got one. It's just giving you the stuff, getting you ready so that you don't worry about that stuff. You can just put it out there.
Yeah, and I totally agree, because I had to do recently, somebody, because I'm doing it's not until October, but they already want the info. And I'm very much oh God, it's not until October, I don't need to think about it yet, but they want the info straight away, so you need to have that. But I call it a speaker bio. So is there a difference between a PR bio and a speaker bio? Does a PR bio want to know more about you as a person? On your background?
Yeah, I mean, I do workshops about media bios because they're really crucial, in the sense that the process of putting together your media bio will give you all of those sort of angles and ideas and sort of for of which parts of your story you want to share and which parts of your expertise you want, how much expertise you've got. So yes, a bio is like a quick summary, and it's mainly about sort of your business, really, and why you'd go and speak to somebody. But your media bio just has that bit more information about your story and how you got to where you are now, which, as I say, those stories are what we trade in stories. People love stories like that. And also it has a bit more about your expertise and what kind of talks you could give, or what sort of articles you could write with tips in. So it just takes it to the next level. And once you've got that, it just helps you to pitch for things like podcasts. And you still, like with media, you would still be kind of drawing out bits from the media bio. They probably wouldn't necessarily read the whole thing. But because you've got it, you've worked through that process and gone, right, these are the bits that are relevant that I'm happy to share. You can then see other opportunities to share a bit more about you and your story that will open up other PR opportunities, basically. I mean, I shared I think it was on a podcast sort of guest website, that I was an introvert who'd ended up in an extroverted profession. And somebody just saw literally that one line, which obviously isn't about my business particularly, although it is linked, and asked me to go on their podcast, which was about introverts in business, so it's those little details about somebody and things that are, their individual quirks allow you to link to other people with the same quirks and just, as I say, talk about things a bit more than just purely, in my case, PR and press releases or something.
Yeah, press releases. I dreaded press release. Yeah, absolutely. That's really interesting, because I guess as well, it helps you, and I guess the checklist that you've put in there helps you think about what you can speak on as well, because even within LinkedIn's a massive subject. So what am I, what can I speak about within LinkedIn as well? So I suppose if you're clear on the talks or whatever, not talks, but I suppose it is talks, but what you can write about, what you can talk about, where you can add value. If you're really clear, then you can have those. Yeah,
100%. And I think if you've gone through and got clear on those things, that can only help with your social media and your LinkedIn, because you've got, I could write about this. It just opens up a whole other aspect of yourself to talk about. And I know there's a bit of a thing about how professional should you be on LinkedIn, but those stories about how I got to where I am now, that's as interesting on LinkedIn as Facebook or in a magazine.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're all humans.
People, they love authenticity. It's there is, people do want to know how that happened, and that is really interesting, because of course you think about PR, it is stories. LinkedIn is stories. Posting, it's all stories, isn't it? It just all comes down to the same thing. And I'm just like light bulbs going off in my God. I'm just really sort of rethinking and reimagining actually what PR actually, what it is and what you can do with it. So that is really fascinating.
Absolutely
amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that thing. I think that's one of the things I love about LinkedIn, is it allows you to, because if you get PR coverage, whether that's, in a paper or on a podcast, or you've spoken at an event or whatever, people like to celebrate with you, don't they? And, it gives you content to share, but also it's credible because it's someone else endorsing you. So it really is a win-win. And I think the two things go really well hand in hand.
Yeah, they certainly do.
Because LinkedIn's a place for business owners and business people, isn't it?
It is, yeah. and hopefully journalists. I will have to go and find that there is a hashtag. I think it's just #journo request.
Yeah, that's what it is. #journo request. I'd imagine it's the same.
I think it's the same on, and there is a lady that a couple of people that I know that will come up, and it is really interesting to sort of have a look on those hashtags every now and again to see what's coming up and things. So, but believe it or not, we're actually on the hour here. Caroline, that has gone so fast. Is there anything else that you think we need to, that people listening need to know before we kind of sign off?
Oh gosh, I mean, I think it's just believe that you are interesting, you've got a story, you've got amazing expertise, and if you can start your PR from that point of view and sort of believing in yourself, because so many people say, I haven't got a story, I'm not interesting, and it's like, you really are. I know, and it's like everyone, no one has the same life, so everyone has got an interesting, your story is your USP. So I think just start with that sort of process of working through it, and use it to get yourself out there. You won't regret it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That is really, really interesting. Well, thank you so much indeed, Caroline, for joining me today. And I obviously will make sure that everybody's got your contact details. If anybody wants to connect, please do with Caroline, and do grab her PR ready tips. I certainly will, because I certainly will now, to help with my LinkedIn content. Yay!
Absolutely, yeah, brilliant.
Biggest challenge: what to post on LinkedIn? Just get PR ready, and you're sorted. Fantastic. Thank you so much indeed, Caroline.
You're
Bye for
welcome.
now, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.